Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this new episode of Raw, the musings of Kris, Seraphine, me, stripped bare. Welcome. So, if you don't know who I am, my name is Kris, and I have a PhD in mythological studies with an emphasis in depth psychology. And I help spiritual and energy healers, coaches, therapists, priestesses, shamans, tarot readers, astrologers, and writers monetize their magic without undervaluing their services. So today I'm here to talk to you about why goddess worship is subversive. And it's always funny to me how much people underestimate goddess and goddess energy, because really, if we think about what does goddess energy represent, it represents beauty, sensuality, being present in the body. It represents pleasure, all these things that are, you know, scary and very much undervalued in the system and the society that we live in today, which is favors the very young, masculine, go for it, hustle, um, overproductive and overworking culture that is basically destroying our bodies, destroying our souls. So to come to any sort of goddess, when I say goddess worship, this could be having an altar to the goddess in your home. I have many pictures of goddesses. That's Kali behind me, holding up my Christmas tree. Um, and I also have gods. I have Ganesha, a big Ganesha tapestry right over here. I have a beautiful statue of Shiva. I have statues of Archangel Michael. Um, but I also have, my Lakshmi painting. And so let's tell some stories today. All right. So there's this aspect of goddess too that comes through in their mythologies, many of their mythologies, that a lot of people don't really talk about or look at. And that is the more trickster side of the goddess. And I've had some arguments with other goddess scholars about this. A lot of goddess scholars do not want to look at goddesses as tricksters because it carries a shadow energy. So, newsflash, humans also project onto deities, right? We project that archetype of the whole human dimension, which includes the shadow, right? Um, and what I love about some of these stories about the goddesses being tricksters is it really makes sense because it's the smart way to go about things, right? When we try to directly go and take power away from a man, a boss, the government, or just even just to reclaim our own power, our own sovereignty. Of course, that energy, that darker energy, the patriarchal masculine, toxic masculine, I'm not talking about the divine masculine, I'm talking about the toxic masculine and even the toxic feminine. They don't want you to have that power. They don't want you to have your sovereignty because then they're afraid in their shadow aspects, they're afraid of losing power. Right? So they want to hold that control over you. And when we take our focus off of those things and begin to focus on ourselves, our bodies, what makes us feel good, what gives us pleasure, what brings beauty into our lives, we cannot live without beauty. Beauty's in music, poetry, art, interior design, flowers, nature. If you want to try to live without that stuff, good luck. Good fucking luck to you. So, I know I'm kind of being like, but I really feel pretty strongly about these things. So I'm just going to put it out there in a strong way. Um, Beauty, pleasure, being in the body, sensuality, these are all necessities. And, we look at like money and all these other things, not saying that money's not associated with goddess, right? But I'm talking about an attachment to materialism and the attachment that our material good is going to come from us, you know, our 9 to 5, doing what we're supposed to do, what good girls and boys are supposed to do. Go to work, do your thing, and then guess what? You have 2 days a week, right? You have 48 hours a week. The rest of it, you should be a slave. And just those other hours, then yeah, if you have energy for pleasure, then you can get drunk, spend way too much money, and again, feed into the toxic masculine culture. So, what goddess worship helps us do is, it can be as simple as having a daily practice. And this is something that I've been doing for years. And it's a practice. I have not even come close to um, mastering this. And that's part of learning to be a master, is knowing that you will never be perfect at anything. There's always more to learn. There's always more to practice, right? So back to the trickster goddesses. So we're going to talk first about goddess Isis, because right now I'm doing the 30-day Isis initiation. We're almost complete. And many of these amazing women are going to be flowing right into the next 30-day initiation code circle, which is for Lakshmi. So that starts January 9th. It starts a week from today. Sign up. It will change everything for you. Okay. So they are loving this. We get together every morning. Well, we have a lady in India who, it's her morning. She's in the future, right? So um, every morning I get up and I do my own goddess practice, and then I channel goddess Isis for them, for me. And we bring her energy into our everyday lives. So we're making the mundane magical, right? So Isis has a beautiful subversive, tricksterish myth. And this is basically about, if you don't know much about Isis, she was the sister of Osiris, goddess, and he's a god. And they also were beloveds. They got married, and husband and wife. And their brother Set got jealous of Osiris and murdered him, chopped his body up, and spread the pieces all over the world, so that he would be forever dismembered, his power taken away. So Isis, his wife, was grieving deeply. So she searched the world over for every single piece of his body. And one of the last pieces to find was his phallus. And she knew that in order to bring him back to life, she had to not only collect all the pieces of Osiris, she also had to speak the magical incantation to bring life back to the body of Osiris. And the only god that had that power was the god Ra, a sun god, right? So she goes to Ra and says, I need to bring my husband back to life. And I need those magical words to make this happen. And he said, no, he refused. So she set her cobra on him. The cobra bites him. And of course, he's a god, so he's not going to die, but he's writhing in pain. He goes, oh my God, make it stop, make it stop. She goes, well, tell me the magical incantation and I'll make it stop. So, of course, he gives in, gives her the magical words, the formula to give life. And she brings Osiris back to life. They make love and they create the child Horus. So I love that. It's, I think with this particular story, it's not quite as tricksterish. It is and it isn't. And I will explain, and you'll kind of see the differences when I go into another couple of stories that I'm going to share in a moment. But, Isis, wasn't going to leave without what she wanted. She wasn't going to beg for what she wanted because she's a queen. She basically took what she wanted by force. Not something that you would expect from the feminine, right? It's like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get what I want. Even if I anger this God and he destroys me, who cares? He's going to be eternally in pain, or he's going to give me what I want. So I love that story about Isis. And it's that part of me that's very maleficent, very much like, okay, let's see how we can take down the patriarchy. Let's see how we could take down the people that think they have power over us. It gives me some sort of glee, right? I don't know if it does that for you, but it definitely does that for me. So the next goddess I want to talk about is Iyansa. She is a river goddess of Nigeria. She comes from the Yoruba, but she was brought over to Brazil and the Caribbean and the United States during the massive slave transportation movement that happened. So she was one of Shango's wives. So Shango is kind of their chief god. And he had 3 wives. He had Oshun, he had Oya, and so Oya Iyansa, and then there is the 3rd wife, the one who cuts off her ear. Shoot, I can't remember her name. Wives of Shango. Oba. So Oshun, Oba, and Oya, all O names. Interesting. I never thought of it before. So, Oya, Iyansa, as she's known in Brazil, is like, I want to be the first wife. So at some point, Shango says, good wife, please fetch for me this special fire. Or is actually a special potion that will help him breathe and spit out fire. And it'll make me very powerful. So she goes, of course, husband. So she goes, and on her way, she realizes, wow, if I also drink the potion and I drink it before him, I will have that power. We will share that power, and I will be first wife, and he can't take that away from me. So, of course, she drinks the potion. She can breathe fire, spit fire, and she comes back and gives him the potion. And he was like, wow, okay, well, guess it's too late to tell you not to take the potion. So again, she did not ask for permission. She just did what she wanted, took the power that she knew she wanted to have a specific result. And the result was she wanted to be his first wife. So she is always his counterpart, his feminine counterpart, because she is the only one who can breathe fire. So this next myth is also similar again, and this is about Oshun. So this again is one of Shango's wives, but this is not about Shango. So Oshun was and is, I think, the only feminine deity in that West African pantheon who can use the cowrie shells for divination. So she stole the power from the god of divination. And I should have, all of this stuff is like in my dissertation that I haven't read in like, I don't know, 7 years. So I forgot to look up some of these names. So pardon me, West African god of divination. Orunmila. Orunmila. Okay. That's his name. So, and I think at this point, she might have been married to him. I'm trying to remember the exact myth. So I believe she's married to Orunmila. And she tells him, I too want to read the shells for people because some of them want me to read for them, not you. Which, of course, he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So um, he leaves and does his stuff, whatever he does, goes off to work, goes off to do his oracle consultations. And she just stays in the home and begins to just do them at home. And she's doing it behind his back. And so I might have to redo this particular story at another time because I don't remember all the details. But all I know is he comes home one day and she's reading the shells. She's just done it. And, he tries to take the power away from her and he can't. So then he's like, okay, then I'm going to give you the 16 shells that you've already read with. But the other, I think that's only half, maybe. I think there are another 16 or more divination patterns that he decided to keep for himself. But he did let her have the 16 cowrie divination that we see so often in the West African spiritual practices. So I just wanted to give you some examples of how goddesses are not just these pretty faces about love and sensuality and, yeah, love and sensuality, all of that's powerful, but, how our society has diminished these things to just the very surface, vain kind of goddess elements and qualities. They totally have stripped these goddesses of their true power, which is sovereignty. They don't take anybody's shit. They don't back down. If they have to sneak around, if they have to steal, if they have to inflict a great deal of pain, they will do what they need to do to get what they want, right? So those are 3 examples, and I just want you to remember that when you think of goddess and you think of these beauty goddesses, so to speak. I mean, when we have Kali and Durga and, we've got, blood and guts and skulls, that iconography feels powerful and dark and scary when really that iconography has to do with protection. She's a great mother. She's the mother of protection. She protects her children. The same with like a Sekhmet and a Bast, there's so many goddesses that have, dark connotations because, we have attached fear to women's power. So the more you can reclaim your own power through the very simple goddess practices that I teach, or maybe someone else teaches, you are reclaiming your sovereignty, which is like the most important thing right now. Because what I'm seeing and what so many other energy readers and psychics and channels and mediums, what we're all seeing is that this is a time to create the reality that you desire. And you cannot create anything without your sovereignty. I'm just saying. All right. I love you. And yeah, please check out the Lakshmi 30-day initiation. It's an amazing online group. And aside from that, I have some other amazing things coming up, and I can't wait to share them with you. Much love.